Tonight, an historic outback pub goes up in flames, a small community devastated. The Greens have Brisbane Labor seats in their sights. How many could they take, and could a prominent minister fall? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ends his presidential bid to back Donald Trump, driving a deep wedge into the Kennedy clan. Ipswich launches a desperate campaign to upgrade local highways, warning they're just years from failing. Germany on edge, a nationwide manhunt underway after a stabbing frenzy at a festival leaves 3 dead. And an unseasonable blast of summer hits Queensland. Can we expect more high temps before winter is done?
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Samantha Heathwood.
Good evening. An historic Queensland pub, almost a century old, has been destroyed by fire. With just one fire crew battling the flames, it took almost 50 minutes for backup to reach the isolated town of Baralaba. But by then, it was too late.
Almost a century of history destroyed within hours. Baralaba Hotel, the icon of a tiny town since 1929.
The stressing scenes here this morning in Baralaba. The pub's a whole thing for the community. It's just the whole social fabric of a little country town.
The blaze broke out just after 2 this morning at the front of the property.
The siren went off and everything, the smoke detectors, everything was working perfect.
With just one local crew battling the blaze alone, forced to wait 50 minutes for backup to reach the isolated town.
Distance and travel was against us on this one. Fire was well involved when we arrived.
It took more than 3 hours to extinguish. By then, the roof had collapsed. The cornerstone of Baralaba gone. 13 people had been staying at the hotel.
We had 11 adults and 2 children evacuated from the premises.
And one of them tried to put it out with the fire extinguisher.
Unsuccessful, they ran outside. All 13 were assessed by paramedics. Fortunately, none of them needed treatment. The owner taking in the huge loss, too devastated to speak on camera today.
Doing their meat raffles last night, everything fine. Look around here this morning, it's a terrible scene.
The hotel was first licensed in April 1929, just a few years after the tiny coal mining town got its first and only hospital.
Definitely a huge loss to the community, a social point, meeting place for the local community. Yeah, it's been a fair blow.
Jordan Bissell, 7 News.
Not everybody can be rehabilitated. That's the Attorney-General's grim admission after a week of pressure on the government over youth crime. 1 week of Parliament is now all that stands between Labor and the state election.
Copping a spray from the left and the right.
No matter who they are.
The government trying to remain cool under pressure.
It's funny, I reacted more than a huntsman on me.
And proving even retiring politicians still have plenty of fight.
All due respect to the Greens, they will never form government.
But the Greens say for the electorates of Cooper, McConnell, Greenslopes and Miller, their data is showing
we're on track to win 4 additional seats, to have a block of Greens MPs in Parliament.
Newcomers going up against big names like Grace and Mark Bailey.
Look, people are disappointed in Labor in general.
You won't find the LNP disagreeing after hitting the government hard through the week on youth crime, with revelations a teen convicted of killing Angus Beaumont is now facing an attempted murder charge.
If government changes in October, the first bit of legislation that we'll address is the Making Queensland Safer laws.
The fact is, sometimes people reoffend. No matter how good the system, no matter who's in government, the fact is not everybody can be rehabilitated.
A tight election result could put the crossbench in the hot seat, and while the Greens are hoping to win 6 seats, the Cantor party could be kingmakers.
A reason for us to have real optimism about this election, and I think the pendulum is about to swing.
I just see danger with a capital D on that one.
9 weeks until they find out if Queenslanders agree.
Rosanna Kingson joins me in the studio now. Rosie, an education campaign on coercive control has launched.
Sam, it will run until the state's new laws begin in May next year. Queensland is only the 2nd state to recognise coercive control as a standalone offence. The new campaign will teach people about the patterns of abusive behaviour. The Attorney-General says she expects as more Queenslanders understand what it is, there will be more people coming forward and more charges before the courts.
This education campaign, importantly, is not just about educating those who are being controlled.
The other education campaign launched today will teach Queenslanders about affirmative consent and stealthing. Stronger new laws around consent are taking effect in a month. Sam, the government says the changes remove outdated stereotypes and myths.
Thank you, Rosie. Well, the opposition leader has drawn a line in the sand for unionists after the CFMEU was put into administration and 21 Queensland officials were axed. David Crisafulli says he believes the CFMEU isn't reflective of the majority of unions.
My commitment to law-abiding unions is they will have a place at the decision-making table. My commitment to the CFMEU is it's game over for your thuggish behaviour.
Union State Secretary Michael Ravbar is among the high-profile casualties when the union was plunged into administration. Donald Trump has won over an unlikely ally as he tries to wrestle back momentum in the run to America's November election. The former president has enlisted Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who ends his own presidential campaign, the new alliance angering the Kennedy clan.
The Kennedys, a Democrat dynasty. Until today.
He is a great person. I've known him for so long.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on stage with and heaping praise on Republican rival Donald Trump.
And don't you want a president who's going to get us out of the wars and who's going to rebuild the middle class in this country?
The appearance infuriating Kennedy family members, including RFK's younger sister, Kerry.
Well, I'm outraged and disgusted by my brother's gaudy obscene embrace of Donald Trump.
She says their dad, Democrat Bobby Kennedy, assassinated in 1968, would detest almost everything about Donald Trump. Now the younger Bobby has suspended his own independent campaign for the presidency to help Trump in America's key battleground states.
Robert F. Kennedy Sr. would be rolling over in his grave.
Polls show Kennedy's share of the vote shrinking below 5%, but in a tight election, his supporters could help Trump. This as the Harris campaign uses new advertising.
Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in.
To build on the immigrant family story featured in Kamala Harris's address yesterday to about 30 million viewers around the US. From the Democrats' showcase convention here to September 10th, America's next big election event, the Harris-Trump debate. In Chicago, Tim Lester, 7 News.
A desperate manhunt is tonight underway in Germany after a deadly stabbing frenzy at a festival in the country's west. At least 3 people are dead, several others wounded, and the armed attacker behind it all is still on the run.
In the city's main square, bodies lie covered, surrounded by emergency workers, the aftermath of a random terror attack. It was supposed to be a diversity festival, a celebration of a city, but it ended tragically by a man with a knife. The attack happened in Solingen, in the west of Germany. The festival included music acts in the centre of town. Witnesses say at 9:45 p.m, a lone man with a knife began attacking people at the front of a stage. 3 people are believed to have been killed, with 4 others seriously injured. Armed police quickly surrounded the site, but the attacker had fled.
Stay calm, but keep your eyes open because the perpetrator is still on the run.
We would like to have a precise description of the perpetrator. That is difficult. Witnesses are in shock or can't speak at the moment.
The city's mayor posted on Facebook, "Tonight we are all in shock, fright and great sadness. We all wanted to celebrate our city anniversary together, and now we have to mourn the dead and injured. Breaks my heart that there was an assassination attack on our town."
We have not been informed of any motives. We are, of course, still in urgent need of witnesses. Videos, photos, we'll take anything.
A town now grieving as the man responsible remains on the run. In London, Joel Dry, 7 News.
A Greek-flagged oil tanker has been set ablaze and left drifting in the Red Sea. Yemen's Houthi rebels have claimed responsibility, releasing video of several explosions rocking the vessel. The tanker, with 25 crew on board, was attacked by more than a dozen people in 2 small boats earlier this week. The crew has been safely evacuated. A woman has been charged with murder after the body of a 63-year-old man was found dumped in a surfboard bag on a driveway on the New South Wales mid-north coast. Police spent the day searching his Nambucca Heads home, an hour from where his body was discovered.
Mark Myers, a gentle man with a generous soul.
He's got the biggest heart. All of his neighbours around him all loved him. His family and his friends all love him. He's just a man that you could always count on if you ever needed help.
But the 62-year-old was murdered, his body stuffed into a surfboard bag and dumped in the driveway of a Darkwood property, 75 kilometres from his Nambucca Heads home, discovered by residents on Thursday night.
I tried calling him last night and his phone just went straight to message bank. And then I came out here and I seen all cop cars and police tape around his house.
His alleged killer, 35-year-old Lisa Cummings, who had moved into his house only a month ago. She was arrested at the home last night. What happened there, police won't say.
I can't go into the nature of those injuries, the cause or the time of death at this stage.
The 62-year-old often opened his home to those in need.
He helped me get a job. He took me underneath his wing, took me in his home. He helped me until I got back up on my feet.
Once a safe house, now a crime scene. And as forensics collect any evidence that could explain why he was killed, his community is forced to come to terms with the loss of a much-loved man.
Whatever's happened to him has hurt so many people.
Lucy McLeod, 7 News.
Summer has come very early to Queensland with above-average temperatures sweeping the state. Some areas will this week swelter through the warmest winter's day since 2009, with beaches the perfect place to cool down.
The competition is heating up. So too is the weather.
I'm from Canada. Winter in Canada is slightly different.
Oh, you wouldn't even believe it's winter here on the Gold Coast today. It's just so hot.
The conditions proving picture perfect at Burleigh Beach.
I reckon half the Gold Coast is out today, which is fantastic.
Surfers and swimmers lapping up the conditions, on the sand working up a sweat as temperatures across the state soar. Southwest Queensland is already feeling the heat, 14 degrees above average.
Places like Birdsville forecast to reach up to 38 degrees over the weekend.
In the southeast, temperatures will hit the low 30s.
At this stage, we don't think records are likely, more so the warmest August day since 2009 for a number of locations.
And still up to 10 degrees above average.
We're seeing summertime temperatures toward the end of winter, which is very unusual.
While outside the water it certainly feels a lot warmer, ocean temperatures along the southeast coast this week are the coldest they've been all year.
Water's still a bit chilly, but you just feel great when you get out of there.
It's a little bit fresh, but very refreshing.
Making it the perfect place to cool down and crack a beer. On the Gold Coast, Paige Van Lunteren, 7 News.
Liz Cantor joins us now. Liz, it sounds like the Sunshine State will be living up to its name.
Sam, there is not a drop of rain forecast over the next 7 days. And if you thought today was warm, tomorrow's daytime temperatures are increasing by over 5 degrees. Have a look at the map. These are today's temperatures. The Gold Coast reached a top of 23. Tomorrow, the forecasted maximum there is 29 degrees. And this is just the beginning of the heat. I'll have your forecast later in the bulletin.
That is music to my ears. Thank you, Liz. Well, Beam Scooters has confirmed it's conducting an internal review following allegations it exceeded the city cap on scooters in Brisbane and other cities. It's claimed it may have pocketed extra revenue while not paying registration fees or a percentage of fares. The Brisbane City Council today confirmed it is investigating the claims. In a statement, Beam told 7 News its intention was to ensure an adequate number of vehicles were available for use. Australia's Ukrainian community is tonight marking the country's Independence Day, set against the backdrop of Russia's ongoing invasion of their homeland. Kyiv's forces are gaining ground, renewing calls for the Albanese government to step up military aid to help bring the conflict to an end.
Outside the Russian embassy in Canberra, the Friends of Ukraine commemorate independence with a direct message for those trying to take it away.
Everything's talked for a Russian diplomat. I think it's really important. I'm sure they don't like it. Ukrainians are resilient, they're strong, they have a strong sense of identity.
That strength on show with Kyiv's surprise counter-offensive into Russia's cursed region. New Vision shows Ukrainian airstrikes pounding enemy platoons, but they're up against Putin's drones and the war is far from over.
The Ukrainian military has shown us they can surprise the Russians, but to sustain that kind of momentum, they need equipment.
Calls growing for Australia to send 60 Abrams tanks and 22 Tiger helicopters due for retirement from our military. But the opposition fears a repeat of the Taipan helicopters that ended up on the scrap heap rather than the front line.
There seems to have been a real lack of strategy, lack of planning from the Albanese government when it comes to Ukraine.
Australia has given $1.3 billion of support in total. Prime Minister Albanese penning an open letter to Ukrainians on their Independence Day, saying we are proud to continue to empower Ukraine to end the war on its own terms. India's Prime Minister offering to help broker peace during a visit to Kyiv, giving fresh hope to Ukrainians around the world.
With the support of the free world, we will defeat the enemy.
Josh Martin, 7 News.
There's been a major breakthrough in the treatment for Australian patients suffering an extremely rare and extremely aggressive cancer. Its shortened name is VHL, but overnight, a miracle drug that attacks the related tumours has been approved for use here.
Lana Hallows has for too many years fought to stay alive. She has von Hippel-Lindau syndrome, or VHL, a genetic, often inherited mutation causing aggressive tumours.
I've had 4 brain surgeries. I lost my hearing in one ear from that. I've had a spinal cord surgery and I've learnt to walk again.
Australia's 500 VHL patients have fought hard for this drug, belzutifan, to be approved on the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme. It shrinks the tumours and prevents surgery. Overnight, news, the fight was won.
Just overwhelmed, just absolute sheer joy.
Belzutifan costs patients $12,000 a month, a staggering $144,000 a year. On the PBS, that cost per month will come down to just $31.60 or $7.70 on concession.
We're lost for words, actually. It's so exciting.
CEO of Neuroendocrine Australia, Meredith Cummins, led the fight with the politicians.
It's going to make such a difference to so many lives.
Ryan Harding's had 6 major spinal surgeries. His brother has the gene. His father died because of it. Now he has hope.
Potentially no more surgeries are coming my way and I have the opportunity to look forward to the future and actually start making some plans with my life.
This wonder drug should be on the PBS by Christmas.
This troll of a disease, and it is a troll, it attacks you again and again and again, and it's relentless. This troll of a disease will be controlled.
Michael Usher, 7 News.
Still to come on 7 News, a favourite Brisbane eatery saved. So what does the future hold for this restaurant? A recovery operation for a capsized super yacht wraps up. The moment a fallen hiker is winched to safety. And look out below, a narrow miss for motorists as a car crashes onto a motorway. It was the shocking car plunge that so nearly ended in tragedy. Now, dashcam video of the moment an SUV plummeted onto a Sydney motorway has been shared online. The white Nissan rolled from an overpass after the driver lost control while entering an on-ramp early this month. He was left with head injuries. A hiker in his 70s is recovering after being winched to safety by the Life Flight helicopter. It's understood the man suffered a medical episode while on a walking trail in the Main Range National Park in the Scenic Rim. He was treated for minor injuries and dehydration and flown to Toowoomba Hospital in a stable condition. Rescue crews have recovered the last body from a super yacht that sank off Sicily. The devastated family have shared an emotional tribute for the man once dubbed Britain's Bill Gates, who died along with his teenage daughter.
The mission to recover bodies from the wreckage of a super yacht ends as the body of the final missing person is brought back to shore. Shortly afterwards, family of the British tech tycoon Mike Lynch released this photo. Him alongside his 18-year-old daughter Hannah, who was the last to be found. She just finished school and was set to study at Oxford University. Her older sister Esme writing, "She is my little angel, my star." The Bayesian sunk off the coast of Sicily near Porticello on Monday after a storm. CCTV showed the lights of the vessel going out shortly before the yacht capsized and sunk. 22 people were on board, 7 did not survive. "We have never seen something like this," says this local woman. "Everyone in Porticello is shocked, everyone is crying." For days, divers have been searching 50 metres below the surface for 6 missing people. Mike and Hannah Lynch died alongside his American lawyer, Chris Morvello, and his wife, Nida, and Judy and Jonathan Bloomer, who were guests on board. The chef, Ricardo Thomas, also killed. With the final body recovered, the work of Italian authorities moves into the next phase to establish exactly what caused the super yacht to sink. Italian prosecutors say they're considering possible manslaughter charges over what happened. A tragic end to a family cruise. In London, Joel Dry, 7 News.
One of Brisbane's best-loved French restaurants has been saved. A buyer has been found for Montrachet at Bowen Hills after it was placed in voluntary administration in July. French-born and trained chef Clement Chauvin opened one of Australia's most highly regarded French restaurants in Canberra a decade ago. He's expected to reopen Montrachet in October. Ahead on 7 News, the new campaign launched to get more funding for a gridlocked southeast Queensland city. Meet the Aussies inventing new tools for people with disabilities. And why this country beauty pageant is still turning heads.
It was Brisbane's first casino. Came in with $5, walk out with $250. Goodbye Treasury, hello Star. Flashback Sunday at 6.
Ipswich motorists are being warned the city's highway network could effectively fail within 7 years. It comes as the local council fights for more funding for critical upgrades.
One of Australia's fastest growing regions, but local highways are described as horrible and dangerous.
Well, the numbers don't lie. And, Ipswich is being left behind. We are being forgotten.
Ipswich Council has launched a new campaign called We Can't Wait, demanding improvements to the Cunningham, Warrego and Centenary highways. The aim to prevent more loss of life.
I live 2 streets up and I count the sirens every day.
The Mayor is calling for commitments to a second bridge in the CBD and making the Amberley intersection an interchange. A study in 2020 found by 2036, morning commutes from Ipswich to the Brisbane CBD could increase by up to 81% if Ipswich doesn't receive its fair share of highway investment. The Transport Minister says the Miles government has committed more than $484 million to projects across Ipswich over the next 4 years.
If the government had built even some of the projects on time and on budget, we'd have enough money in the system to do so many of these projects.
And it's not just the roads falling short. On Thursday morning, 17 bus services were cancelled due to staff shortages in the Ipswich region. TransLink says it's struggling to attract and retain drivers.
That has a massive impact on families here in Ipswich. We need reliable transport.
Tiani Reid, 7 News.
From one-handed fishing rods to cranes for carrying groceries, there seems to be no limit to the imagination of a group of Aussie inventors. Now vital work improving the lives of those with disabilities can continue thanks to some welcome funding.
When Terry Hall unlocks his workshop, he also unlocks his creative juices.
It's customised products that people can't buy over the shelf.
a pool cue for a one-armed player, a gadget to pick up paper off the floor, even a claw to lift preserving jars out of boiling water, custom made for a keen cook with arthritis.
We've had some notes back to say it's changed their lives completely.
Now, his army of volunteers, known as TADSA, can continue its good work after receiving a $10,000 grant to help pay for materials. And they need every cent. They get more than 300 requests for unique devices each year.
Nothing is off the cards. Everything is unique, and we really only make one-offs.
One of those inventions means Vicky McQueer can still take part in her beloved park run, despite a cruel lung condition. Her modified pram allows her to access critical oxygen supplies while on the go.
Before I used to have to go on the road because the footpath was too uneven. This actually copes with it better.
We wouldn't survive as a community without people that have got social conscience.
These handy volunteers have been able to solve just about every problem they've faced, and they love the challenge.
Once you retire from work, you've got to keep busy. You've got to get your brain working and you've got to keep your hands and body working.
And what better way to do it than making magic for those who need it? Tom Johnson, 7 News.
Jeremy Clarkson's new business venture, no room at the inn for the grand opening of his own pub. Meet the motorcyclist riding around Australia to get footy boots so kids can kick goals. And a fan favourite country music festival makes a return.
I think I've made a mistake, yes.
It can't all be rumours though, John. It can't all be rumours and it can't all be lies.
On 7 News Spotlight, John Setka breaks his silence.
There are people that want you dead.
Probably.
So there are bikies in the CFMEU.
Well, I'd assume there is.
And now, the secret deal that will make headlines across the country.
What's the truth about why you resigned from the CFMEU?
All News Spotlight, Sunday.
British TV presenter Jeremy Clarkson is embarking on a new venture. From learning how to be a farmer with his hit show Clarkson's Farm, he's now opened a pub and hundreds have queued to step inside on opening day. He's pledged to only sell food sourced from British farms.
Why do you feel so passionately about it?
Because I've been doing it 5 years, it's really difficult.
The pub in Oxfordshire is called The Farmer's Dog. Despite its opening day popularity, the former Top Gear host says he doesn't expect to make a profit. When Miss Condobolin was crowned at the country show today, it marked a new era for an old tradition. For 6 decades, local women have been entering the pageant, but with numbers dwindling, they've had to evolve to bring it into the 21st century.
In 1962, 20 young women entered Sydney's first Miss Showgirl competition. Embodying the grace and spirit of rural life, these ambassadors represented the heart and soul of their country towns. Diane Williams was the first Condobolin showgirl in 1963.
I was thrilled because finally Condobolin was being noticed.
Today back in her hometown, where for the last 60 years this community has rallied behind their daughters, sisters and friends on the showground.
I think we're the only mother-daughter combination.
But it was never supposed to be about manufacturing beauty queens, now renamed the Young Woman Competition.
It's not a contest for people who can sing and dance and kick up their heels. It's got nothing to do with it. And so I think it's a timely name change and a good idea.
Past contestants coming together in their pearls and sashes, hoping to boost the number of entrants.
You really can be anyone doing anything, and it's about championing the future leaders of our community.
Each regional town has its own unique character, and it's country shows like these that help preserve the traditions that define places like Condobolin. But they're also a chance to envision a brighter future for the generations to come. This year's Miss Condobolin, today named under the watchful eye of the woman crowned 60 years before her. Amy Clements, 7 News.
Country music lovers have mustered up their best dance moves for the annual Gympie Music Muster. Die-hard fans have been camped out for weeks to see big names like James Johnson, Becky Cole and Shannon Knoll. Another record crowd of around 50,000 is expected this year. It also raises funds for rural aid.
I feel like I'm in Disneyland right now because as a country music artist, this is all I wanted to do in life and I finally found where I belong.
They've saved the best for last with Casey Barnes and Lee Kernaghan wrapping up the show tomorrow. Coming up, how a motorcyclist is taking a trip across the country to collect footy boots for kids wanting to play in the outback. We speak with him as his journey begins. That story's just ahead on 7 News. But it's what time now? The Broncos' journey to finals continues, Alissa.
Yes, after beating the finals, Sam, hello everyone. Coach Kevin Walters is adamant Brisbane is finals bound. Plus, the Dolphins are caught in the storm in their fight for a top 8 spot. And we'll head to the Gabba ahead of tonight's sold-out Lions-Bombers showdown.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.
While the Dolphins are trying to keep their finals hopes alive, the Storm could have one hand on the minor premiership courtesy of the Canberra Raiders, who upset the all-conquering Panthers. Right now in Melbourne, the Dolphins are trailing, but as today proved, this year anything can happen.
A fresh challenge against a familiar foe.
Jesse Bromwich, part of the Melbourne greatest team ever assembled.
The Dolphins out to upset the current outfit. Dodging disaster early, Jermaine Asarko's try-saver deemed fair game.
This is going to be called legal.
No questions the second time around. Pappenhausen finding Fa'alogo in the same corner.
Yes, sir. Sualavi Fa'alogo gets a try.
On the other side, Harry Grant greedy in the best kind of way.
Grant gets over. Grant just helps himself to a 4-pointer.
From bad to worse, Kafusi sent to the bin, the Storm crossing again and again. The Dolphins' once bright finals hopes now starting to dim. Earlier today, the rarest of sights in our nation's capital, whistleblowers welcome.
Have we had 5 in 3 minutes? Like, we've had 7 for the match.
Piling up penalties early, Raiders and Panthers trading ties until the half. Dane Laurie didn't think he scored, happy to be proven wrong.
That is brilliant from Dane Laurie.
Penrith's forwards played like backs.
Fisher Harris! Out of nowhere!
Corey Horsburgh met with the Bronx last week. He'll hope they didn't see this. Jerome Luai will be seeing this in his nightmares though, intercepted and back the other way. Xavier Savage finishing the try that could send the Premiers tumbling out of the top 2.
The final seconds, Starling with the ball. It's an incredible win.
I know they got that in them. I know I've got a football team here.
We've had years in the past where this time of year we're probably kicking around waiting for the finals to start, so it's definitely not going to be like that this year.
The final 8 as unclear as ever. Ned Balm, 7 News.
Broncos coach Kevin Walters is adamant Brisbane will make finals after their 6-point comeback against the Eels. Earlier, the Bulldogs spoiled Shaun Johnson's farewell game in Auckland in their hunt for a top 4 spot, while the 10th place Broncos are still chasing the 8. A win's a win.
They stay alive, but only just.
We will make the finals, but we've got to play well next week against Redcliffe. There's no if here. We're going to make the finals.
It didn't look that way in the opening term.
Exquisite from Parramatta. 3 tries in 11 minutes.
Before Tristan Saylor stunned.
He has to do it on his own. He does do it on his own. Brilliant stuff. Tristan Saylor scores.
That's his best game for us this year.
Saylor sparking the Broncos' run of 5 consecutive tries.
Reynolds puts the foot down and Reynolds scores. Brisbane in front for the first time.
There's dumb things there that we did that put us in a position to lose.
Reynolds had his own brain snap.
Oh, Adam Reynolds! And the door is open for Parramatta.
They shut it on themselves in the final minute. The wooden spoon now looming large. The Bronx face the Dolphins next, but will be without Kobe Hetherington with concussion. Payne Haas rehabbed at Red Hill today, but won't be fit for Redcliffe.
He probably won't be next week, but he'll be the week after.
Across the ditch, the Bulldogs and the Bunker upset an emotional Shaun Johnson stadium in his farewell game. Stephen Crichton avoiding the sin bin for this high shot.
Roger. I'm struggling to understand how a
the shoulder can go into Roger's head and the bunker it's got ages to see it. Nothing gets done to them. We've got to protect our players.
The NRL judiciaries slapped Crichton with a one-match ban. In the NRLW, the Cowboys have secured their first win away from home ever, thanks to a 3-try raid on the Green Machine in the opening half. The Raiders fought back before Vitalina Nakore went airborne for her second.
Strand Smith out for Nakore, even better, they'd love a try. She dives in the corner for a double.
Jasmine Peters crashed over the line in the final minute to seal the win. It puts the Cowboys equal with the Eels on the ladder. The Lions must beat the Bombers tonight to lock in a home elimination final. And there's extra incentive to kick a big score with big money on the line too to pump into the club's academy. Brett Thomas is with the Star Wingman.
Yeah, the double chances out of question for the Lions have actually slipped down to 6th with the Hawks winning today, but there is an extra incentive to win. Along with that home final, as you mentioned, all the Lions sponsors are kicking in $19,000 per goal. Jasper Fletcher, that's a nice little carrot for you guys tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. It means a lot when we have sponsors like that, and to put it towards a good cause too, it means a lot to us too.
Big Joe in his 200th game. He's an enigma. What is he like as a teammate, a guy who doesn't have a TV and lives 2 hours away?
He's a great guy, especially for me, being a midfielder. He's someone that presents a big target each game, and if you kick it in his area, he's going to have a crack, and so we'll play for him tonight.
And how are you finding your second season? You haven't missed a game this year, which is a great effort.
It's nice to be able to have that achievement, but for me, I just try and take it game by game. You never know what happens in regards to injuries and form and that sort of thing, so I just try and play every game like it's my last.
And a home final, the Carrot in 2 weeks' time. Do you talk about that?
Look, we've spoken about it in regards to the ladder, but not too much. If we can get a home Elim final in front of a great crowd here at the Gabba, we'll be pretty happy.
It should be packed tonight. Go well.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, finals out of the question for the Bombers, but as we've heard, lots at stake for the Lions.
Thanks, Brett. Well, Damien Hardwick didn't give his former Richmond Premiership heroes a friendly farewell today. A second quarter blitz instead, helping the Suns to a comfortable and rare 38-point win on the road. Ben Long's start with 3 goals for the visitors. Sam, that's sport.
Excellent. Thanks, Alissa. Well, an Australian man is on a mission to provide footy boots to kids in the outback. He's riding around the country raising money. Like Forrest Gump, he just took off one afternoon and never stopped.
An unplanned journey turned charity crusade. Paul Burke left his home in Geelong to see how far north he could ride in an afternoon. He stopped in Cairns.
I just kept going, Forrest Gump style.
The spontaneous trip took on a new meaning when he bought a footy.
I decided to start kicking goals around Australia. I thought it'd be fun to kick 100 goals around Australia, which is not easy, believe me.
Visits to local grounds often came with visits from locals keen to have a kick.
Oh, you beauty!
Plenty of talent, but none had boots.
I thought, you know what? Let's get more footy boots on kids in the outback, and we've got almost $15,000 now.
A month and 14,000 kilometres later, Paul determined to put a pair of boots on every kid in the outback.
So to open up a box of brand new boots, they're crying. They can't believe it. So it's been, so I get emotional about it because it's been a great journey.
The last week of the tour today starting here in Perth. Paul heads south and then east back home towards Geelong, but even then he says his work is only just getting started.
I'll repack, put a swag on the back, and then my sister and a good mate of mine is going to be driving a four-wheel drive behind me, and we're stopping at sports stores all over Australia, and we're going to try and get as many boots as we can in the back of that four-wheel drive.
Lockie Burns, 7 News.
Just ahead, adorable first moments as a new baby rhino takes its first steps at an Aussie zoo.
From Kangaroo Point, where the current temperature is 20 degrees. I hope you like your heat. Coming up after the break is your forecast.
There's a big reason to celebrate at Victoria's Werribee Zoo with the arrival of a rare white rhino calf. He's just the second born at the zoo in more than a decade, and for keepers brings joy after tragedy.
A heartwarming moment from a mother and son with a heartbreaking backstory.
I can't stop smiling right now. There's always ups and downs in zookeeping. Things don't always go well. So when they do, you've got to really celebrate it.
The southern white rhino calf arrived on Sunday, but for keepers, excitement was tempered by nerves. Mum Capenzi inadvertently crushed her first calf born last year. After this birth, staff watched and waited and were relieved to see an immediate bond.
It's just incredible to see her mothering instincts coming out.
11-year-old Capenzi was hand-raised at the zoo after her mum refused to feed her. She had no experience around calves, but she's learning quickly and is protective.
She'll give vocalisations and call the calf back.
But like human offspring,
doesn't always respond, but she's doing her best to shepherd it and keep it close to her. Already has got such an attitude. He's already kind of like, snorting and stomping and trying to, so yeah, he's going to be a real handful later on.
The calf is not yet on public display, but in time will join the herd on the savannah. More importantly, he'll be part of a global breeding program with just 10,000 southern white rhinos left in the wild.
Zoos have a responsibility to try and build the science knowledge around how to maintain and protect these species into the future.
Kate Jones, 7 News.
Now it's time for Liz with the weather, and it's the talk of the town at the moment.
Sam, it's been said that when a season shifts in Australia, it happens quick. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on your Saturday night. This week, you'll be forgiven for thinking we've skipped spring and headed straight to summer. Have a look at today's temperatures and keep these in mind later when I show you the 7-day forecast. For the Gold Coast, a top of 23, 12 to 23 in Redcliffe, 13 to 23 for the Sunshine Coast, away from the sea breeze, 8 to 27 for Ipswich, and for Brisbane City, 13 to 26. Here's the satellite picture. A large high-pressure system spinning over the state. You can see from the isobars north to northwesterlies becoming established, and these will dominate the entire forecast region, leading to widespread fine and sunny conditions with temperatures well above average, especially outside of the Great Dividing Range and immediate coastline. Across Australia, and try not to gloat, Queensland, cloudy in Perth, wet for Adelaide, Melbourne and Sydney. Hobart, a top of 18. Back in Queensland, southeasterly winds across the region, so no unusual temperatures for the north, 21 to 28 for Cairns. Further south, dry out west and along the coastline, 13 to 33 for Roma, 13 to 25 for Hervey Bay. In the southeast, you can see the wind tending north now, and this is the start of the building heat with 13 to 27 for the Sunshine Coast, 12 to 31 for Ipswich, 14 to 29 for the Gold Coast. Across the greater Brisbane area, not quite a bluebird day south of the river, but close to it. Manly enjoying the breeze with a top of 27, further inland 30 for Kenmore. On our waters, northwesterlies 10 to 15 knots, tending northerly in the middle of the day, and winds reaching up to 20 knots late in the day, and around that time we'll see seas increase to around a metre. Sunday in Brisbane, if you're an outdoors runner, plan it early, 14 before a top of 29, sunrise just after 6 a.m. Looking ahead, and believe it or not, we are still in winter. Very unusual to see these temperatures, and for this period of time, 4 consecutive days from Wednesday with temperatures above 30, making Tuesday's top of 28 look cool. In Ipswich, from tomorrow onwards, it stays above 30, 14 to 34 on Monday. On the Gold Coast, no doubt the beaches will be popular with 16 to 31 on Monday. Overnight Thursday, you may need the fan with a minimum of 17, and a similar story for the Sunshine Coast with 17 to 30 on Thursday there. And Sam, to break a Brisbane record, we need a top above 35.4 degrees this week.
Sounds magnificent. Thanks, Liz. Well, that's all from us this Saturday. Thanks for your company. Have a good night.